They're going to put taxes up, so how does that stimulate growth?
So why have we not had growth in the last couple of years?
I'm talking about what Labour do.
No, but no, I was wondering, is that because taxes have gone up so much?
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. And Labour are going to put taxes up too. They're going to keep the thresholds rising every year on income tax. Taxes are going up under a Labour government. So where's this mythical growth going to come from?
Taxes go up when you don't have growth. If you have growth, you don't have to put up taxes.
Where's the growth coming from?
Because people are earning more and paying more.
They've got no plan for growth. It's just a mantra.
That's rubbish.
It's a mantra.
Did you watch the game, Andrew? And presumably, I mean, did England set up right, did you think?
I have a confession. It won't surprise you. I didn't watch the game.
No.
However, this morning, well, the first thing I did was check the score. I didn't even know the score when I went to bed last night.
And England were all out.
All out?
England were all out.
Yeah.
Different score.
5 tries to 2.
Right.
Look, I do know who Bellingham is, who scored the goal.
Yes.
And I do know...
Because he was in a very eye-catching fashion campaign last week.
And I do know he plays for a team in Spain, but I can't remember which team it is. And I know Harry Kane is the captain. And I know he plays for a team in Germany.
Good morning, Britain.
It's painful.
The place to come for all the top analysis.
There we are.
There we are.
List. I'd like England to do very well in the tournament. I'd like Scotland to do very well. I know Scotland got waxed the other day.
They did.
Would you like everybody to do very well?
No.
I mean, should everybody be a winner?
No, I want England to do well over Scotland. What's going to happen if England and Scotland get in the final? Who does Keir Starmer support?
England, but I think I think it's very unlikely for my Scottish friends that they'll get to the final.
Could they meet in the tournament?
England fans will always support Scotland. It's just the other way around.
Yeah, but that's odd, isn't it?
Shall we have a look? We've got plenty of things to talk about, but I want to have a look at politicians watching football.
Oh, yeah.
So we have images from a pub. I'm not sure which one. This is Starmer and Angela Rayner watching with 2 comedians, Matt Ford and John Richardson. So, clearly, I mean, we know Keir Starmer is a massive football fan. He's an Arsenal fan.
That T-shirt is too clean, though, look at it.
Needs some beer spilled down it, which might have happened after Jude Bellingham's goal. Right, so compare and contrast. This is the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, watching the football. You see, now, is he on his own? No. Is someone there with him?
Well, he won't be in a pub because he's teetotal.
Is it clearly the football?
Has he got Sky? Has he got a dish now?
So I'm not sure which moment this would be, but we also know, big football fan.
Yeah.
He's
a Southampton fan.
Yep.
That's right, he is.
Genuine football fan.
Yeah.
But he's managed to get himself into that position where people doubt almost everything he does and says. But he is a big football fan.
I can still remember the 2015 election, David Cameron eulogising his football team, West Ham. No, David, your football team is Aston Villa.
But they wore the same colour shirt.
Same colour shirt. Because we know that
Not
Cameron
a mistake you'd ever make, Andrew.
No, of course. But I wouldn't pretend that I'm a fan of football. Whereas older Tony Cameron was pretending he's down with the lads, being cool.
But he was reading... Actually, what had happened, he was reading a speech, and whoever wrote the speech had put in West Ham rather than Aston Villa. Right. He knew he was an Aston Villa.
Did he?
Because a Villa's a big house, and it's open, so it's been a bit of a... At the top, a Toffs, a club.
Right.
And he was a relative of the chair, but somebody had put the wrong name in it, and he read it, and you could see the pause. No, well, he should have corrected himself.
So it was the speechwriter who'd got the two teams mixed up.
In fairness to Cameron.
Bad workman blames his tools.
Also, there was that awkward moment a couple of weeks ago when Rishi Sunak said to a group of people in Wales, are you looking forward to a summer of football? And they're not in it.
But it's because he just goes everywhere, and it's a point of contact.
Yeah.
As he said 20 years ago, he didn't have any working-class friends. He goes and you see a load of people. What do you talk? Said blokes, you think, talk about football. Gordon Brown was the best at that. But Gordon Brown had a genuine... has a genuine interest.
Although Gordon Brown was...
Is that his team?
Wraith Rovers.
There we are. How do I know that?
Wraith Rovers, and he'd been...
How do I know that?
Watched them all round,
amazing.
all round.
Muscle memory.
He was also in one of the worst photo opportunities ever.
Oh, with showing there was no riff with Tony Blair, and they were watching...
Look at them. Look at them.
With their ties
on. God. Who's that in the yellow shirt?
Yeah. And
hang on. Who is that in the yellow shirt?
Is that Ed Balls?
Can we see that?
I mean, look at that.
Right. We need a freeze frame on the... Canary
Look
yellow.
how young they look.
We missed it.
Look how young they looked.
Can you see they both got their drinks at the same time? Somebody must have said, drinks
I think it was the 1998 World Cup. It looked like they had never met before, that they'd never watched a football match before,
and couldn't stand
and they'd never drank beer before. It was so awful.
And couldn't stand each other, and that would be right, because they couldn't.
So let's go on to the Lib Dem battle bus.
Right.
Yellowhammer. This is Ed Davey watching the football.
Looking yellow-hammered.
And then finally, we have Nigel Farage, who appears to have squeezed in with Gareth Southgate. I don't think he's advising on tactics. He's got a cardboard cutout. That just looks like they've superimposed Gareth Southgate on that
It's not totally
picture.
clear which one is the cardboard
Kevin, how
cutout.
important is it for politicians to harness a massive tournament like the Euros, or are they worried it's actually going to be a distraction?
I think many will be worried it's a distraction. It takes a lot of the oxygen away, both on TV, the airwaves, and in print. But Nigel Farage is cricket and rugby. He isn't football, but it's sort of like trying to attach yourself. There's always a worry if it's inauthentic and people know you're not really a football fan. Now, look, you can be not a great football fan, but there's a big tournament and you take an interest in it.
Yes.
But if you're trying to pass yourself off as a die-hard fan, this is my life and I've loved it all, then that can backfire big time.
But, you see, I think the Tories will be hoping that England do very well and Scotland do very well, to create almost a bit of a feel-good factor, because the weather's rubbish at the moment, polls are negative, they're not going anywhere. Perhaps it would just improve people's sense of well-being.
On the other hand,
nobody's listening to anything the Tories are saying, looking at the polls.
On the other hand, when you say the tournament might distract attention, I mean, do both parties care the same about that?
No, why would Labour care? Why would Labour care? They're miles ahead.
Look, postal votes have started going out. Wes Streeting, the Shadow Health Secretary, showed him voting for himself, of course, here in his constituency. Now, they're going out at a time when Labour's way ahead in the polls. Almost, if it was a race in a stadium, they'd be lapping the Conservatives. So Labour, yes, just wants it to stay exactly where it is. While if you're the Conservatives, you've somehow got to get back in the
So Labour's happy for it to be about the football.
Yeah, you need to make some substitutions. The coach needs to change his tactics.
Well,
yeah, these football analogies are going to go the whole way through.
Yeah, sorry, Andy.
Oh,
it's an election of two halves. Yeah.
Talk to us about making substitutions, Andrew. Boris Johnson.
Should Phil Foden have been substituted at 29 minutes?
That's enough football talk, Ed.
He played for Manchester City.
Blimey, this is amazing.
Right? Is that correct?
Have you been swatting?
It's a pub quiz and currently you're winning.
Am I right about that?
Your ability to produce irrelevant facts is astonishing.
Where did that come from, actually? I don't know. Nobody whispered it.
I love that.
That was in here.
No.
Boris Johnson's biographer, Andrew Gimpson, wrote on Conservative Home that Boris Johnson has not given up thoughts of a comeback.
Of course he hasn't.
Now, that would be if the Conservatives are defeated.
Not if, Susanna. When the Conservatives are defeated.
Nobody's cast a vote yet.
Wes Streeting has.
Apart from a couple of postal votes.
They're just off.
So Boris Johnson will step forward as the one person who can save the party from an opportunistic takeover bid, which Nigel Farage will launch. Is Boris Johnson the future saviour of the Conservative Party?
Again.
I suspect not.
Oh.
But Boris is still a formidable campaigner. He's a formidable presence. And you have to say, looking at the polls, would the Tories be better off with Boris Johnson in charge? They couldn't be worse off, could they? Is
he going to step in, Kevin, and do campaign? I know he's campaigning on behalf of individual MPs.
Quite significantly, one who's called for Rishi Sunak to stand down, Simon Clarke, up in the north.
He's done a few videos. He's expected to, but, of course, I suppose he's busy making money. He's been on holiday. And when he does now, he could well make Sunak look very much smaller, if that's possible, with a bloke who's 5'5" and having a bad time.
I think he might be in Ukraine.
Where he could be useful for the Conservatives is because he campaigned very publicly for Brexit, and Farage campaigned very publicly for Brexit. He can take on Farage directly. He can say, in a way, Sunak can't, although he did back Brexit, he was a lot quieter. People don't link him to it. He can actually come up and take on...
Boris is an amazing campaign. You go out there over Boris, it's an extraordinary reaction he has. People want to see him.
He's not what he was, though.
He's got a huge following, and I think the Tories would love to have him back on the campaign trail. He's a big star. Who else have they got in this campaign?
No,
Who else do we see? Where is the Chancellor? Where is the Secretary?
Partygate is a big reason for their trouble now. And you can go back to 2022 and he gets baked in all the line. He's ousted. She comes in Truss for 49 days, gets the economy wrong, then Sunak comes in as a second choice and never recovers.
It was clear in the Sky debate last week. You remember the question from the audience in the Sky debate from Amy, who asked Rishi Sunak about Partygate, and that was actually one of the toughest moments for the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Because he also got a penalty, of course.
So,
that's right.
Which I thought was a bit harsh, because he was in that room for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's actually got 2 fines, hasn't he? Because he got one for not wearing a seatbelt. I mean, he's not Kenneth Noy, but, I mean, there's a whole series of
gracious
offences.
You say that, Kevin.
What about Suella Braverman? Now, she has released a campaign video on TikTok. Let's have a look.
I have a question for everybody. Who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando?
Can we just get an image?
I have a question for everybody. Who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando?
Done this, has he?
Andrew had his head in his hands watching that. No, not a winner for you?
Look, when
future leadership candidate?
Get down and be cool, you cringe. Look, I like Suella Braverman. I think she's formidable. I think she's very good. She doesn't need to do that. It's stupid.
Kevin, the advice for Rishi Sunak, apparently, this morning from senior Tories, and I don't know whether Suella is one of them, is to start going for the jugular with Sir Keir Starmer, to get really personal. Ministers believe Sunak cannot win the election. Priority should be damage limitation, but they want to target Starmer over his support for Jeremy Corbyn, which is one of the issues that Beth Rigby from Sky skewered Keir Starmer on. And actually, they just think he needs to get more spiky.
He needs to do something. But, of course, he was spiky during the head-to-head, but he didn't go on Corbyn. And
he didn't mention Corbyn at all, actually.
Starmer had a couple of goals on Truss and left it. I think it's just too late. He'll just look nasty and petty and it'll be a diversion. He needs... the only way Labour don't win this election now is Labour implode. Labour do something. It's not what Sunak does now.
What about, Andrew, talking about Labour imploding and doing something, are they getting properly scrutinised on tax? Because there is, obviously, the Tories launched this £2,000. You know, you're going to get a £2,000 bill under a Labour government. And that was pretty much discredited as an independent assessment.
I think it was cutting through, and then we had D-Day, the row over D-Day, which took over everything for 6 days, and the Tories are sticking to that £2,000. And we saw Wes Streeting yesterday, the shadow-held secretary. Now, he is right-hand man of Keir Starmer, admitting the manifesto is not a 5-year spending plan. It was a
slip, wasn't it? We should actually play this.
Was it a slip, or was it...
Or was it revealing?
The cat out the bag.
Well, let's let the viewers make their minds up. Here it is.
Well, so it isn't a 5-year plan.
No.
So what else have they got up their sleeve? I mean, it's the cat out the bag.
He went on to say...
Capital gains tax.
He went on to say none of our pledges in our manifesto require increases in council tax, in fuel duty or other taxes, but that's in the manifesto. And then he then says the manifesto isn't
a 5-year plan.
The sum total.
Yeah, but isn't the explanation that it's all... based on growth. You get growth in the economy.
And what if you don't? And what if you don't?
Then you can't go beyond what you've got.
But his slip was not to say that. What he should say is, it's all about growth. And if we can get growth, then...
And if they don't...
In that line, he didn't do that, and that was the mistake.
I think a key test of the success of the next Labour government, if there is one, Susanna, you're quite right. We should always put in those caveats, just in case. If there is one, is whether the 2-child limit on benefits is lifted. Now, that's not promised. It's not in the manifesto, but it's got what, 2.6, 2.7
I think
million quid?
I think it was in Keir Starmer's pledge when he became Labour leader.
Oh, yeah, but they're long gone. But this is a
This is
a programme. But if you get economic growth, you might get the 2.5 billion or
and
so.
what if you don't?
Well, then you presumably you have to borrow to get.
So everything is predicated.
Or you have to put up taxes.
Yeah, or you keep it.
And how are they going to get? And how are they going to get growth if they're not cutting taxes? How are they going to stimulate this growth? Oh, that's right, they're going to reform the planning system. There's the key.
Growth is far more than cutting taxes on when you're a real...
Well, they're not going to cut taxes, Kevin. They're going to put them up. They're going to put them up.
A very small amount.
Why have we not had growth?
Much more.
They're going to put taxes up. So how does that stimulate growth?
So why have we not had growth in the last couple of years?
I'm talking about what Labour do.
No, but I'm just wondering, is that because taxes have gone up so much?
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. And Labour are going to put taxes up too. They're going to keep the thresholds rising every year on income tax. Taxes are going up under Labour government. So where's this mythical growth going to come from?
Taxes go up when you don't have growth. If you have growth, you don't have to put up taxes.
Where's the growth coming from?
Because people are earning more and paying more.
They've got no plan for growth. It's just a mantra.
That's rubbish.
It's a mantra.
It's rubbish. There is a plan. I'm not saying it's going to work, but there is a plan.
They won't rule out a rise in fuel duty. They won't rule out a rise in capital gains tax.
Well, I remember the last Conservative...
No, we're talking about Labour.
You rule things out and then you just did them.
We're talking about Labour. He doesn't want to talk about Labour and tax. Of course he doesn't, because they're going to put the taxes up.
You don't rule everything out.
Did Rishi Sunak rule out a rise in fuel duty?
I'm talking about Labour.
No, but I just wondered whether...
Yes, they have, actually.
Actually, fuel duty is now relatively low because it's not gone up for
it hasn't gone up for years.
Yeah, but that's because he puts in the figures every year and then doesn't do it. It's actually, in the budget figures, is the assumption that fuel duty will rise by 5%.
It never goes up. Islot will.
The issue about the two-child benefit cap is going to be a sticky one, isn't it, for Keir Starmer? I know those that on
some Labour MPs say it would cause starvation.
Yeah, well, those on the left of the party, and some activists call him Sir Kid Starver.
Yeah, the Lib Dems have promised to get rid of it. Labour and the Conservatives haven't. And watching Angela Rayner on her last seven-way shout-a-thon, it's when she looks most uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The complication is that the Institute for Fiscal Studies have now come out and said it will lead progressively, because it only starts with children born in 2017. So as more children are born, more children are affected. And so any family with more than two children who's on a low income, even in work, and most people who are affected are in work, will lose money. So the proportion, the IFS said, of children in poverty living in larger families is going up and up. So smaller families are helped, larger families increasingly going to poverty. That's the trouble.
And you've imposed it and you've backed it. No, look, Labour should say they're going to get rid of it. That's it. That's it.
They won't.
And you either...
You used to think so. What changed?
You either find the tax to cover it, or you say borrowing will go up a little to cover it. But it's cruel and callous, and there's no evidence it reduces the size of
cruel and callous Labour policy. Cruel and callous.
More people back into work. It just
cruel and callous Labour policy.
It just punishes kids. No, it's your policy.
Well, you're keeping it.
There's lots of There's lots of policies and positions Labour will inherit from your sordid lot.
We're talking to Jonathan Ashworth.
Get rid of them all in one go.
Keir Starmer was going to abolish it, and he's now saying he's keeping it.
We're talking to Jonathan Ashworth, who's Labour's campaign coordinator in half an hour.
He'll find it very
He
uncomfortable.
described it as a vicious policy.
And heinous.
Which is pushing children and families into poverty today, he said. So we'll ask him about that.
But it will be a test. It will be a test of the success.
Interestingly,
of the next Labour government.
Getting rid of the two-child cap has been backed by Gordon Brown, Archbishop of Canterbury, Nigel Farage, Suella Braverman, have all come out and said this is the wrong thing to do, as well as the Child Poverty Action Group. It's quite interesting. I mean, an unusual coalition.
It is.
Braverman, who would have voted for it when it came in. Farage, you can say what he likes because he's not going to have to do any of it.
She said, let's abolish the two-child limit, eradicate child poverty for good.
I don't know how much it would cost to get rid of it.
It's about 2.5 billion.
to 3.
Which in the context of government spending is not enormous.
In a 2 trillion plus economy.
Yeah.
In the
2.6
in the context of a general election, it's enormous.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point. Shall we turn our attention to something which you will not put your head in your hands looking at, and that is the reappearance of the Princess of Wales at Trooping the Colour.
It's great.
Over the weekend. Huge cheer. And when she appeared there in the carriage, she was smiley. And according to the Mail this morning, She wanted to be there. She wanted to support the king. She also knew that the children are such a bonus for those watching, and that she wanted to be there on the balcony. And, of course, then you have this wonderful moment when Prince Louis is dancing away on the balcony. He's a superstar, isn't he?
God love him. He's great. And his sister occasionally telling him to put a bit of a sock in it, really. But they're just great. And I know Kevin is absolutely thrilled to talk about this. I think it cheers the country up. People love to see her. And she looked great, didn't she?
I wish
she's
a full
battling
recovery.
cancer.
As a young woman with cancer and those kids, and I know from other young women who've had it, you'll be wondering about the kids all the time. What if? What if?
And a few months ago...
The King looked fantastic. I mean, the King looked thrilled to have her. The whole... Look, this is the royal family. The King, the next generation, and the generation after that. Very reassuring.
2 of those people on that balcony affected by cancer.
Amazing.
I thought there were 2 significant things when you look at that picture. One is that a couple of months ago, you know, privately, you wondered, could we have these pictures this summer? And there they are.
Yeah.
But also, if you think, you know, the Queen passed away, and of course she leaves, you know, a big gap. But that family picture, I mean, is the new monarchy. It's interesting how things change and evolve. The King at the centre, his family around him, and it just shows how things move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't it look better as well that there's not, you know, like 90 of them on? Do you remember in the old days you used to get them all in you didn't know who they were, you're Duke of this, Earl of that, you know, and all that nonsense, all those hangers on. I'm sure we're still paying for them. But nevertheless, it looks a bit better.
Seeing her, seeing Catherine, seeing the Prince of Wales next to the King, that image that was described of when they were in the clinic together, an elderly gentleman, can be still somebody 75, older man, shuffling down a corridor in his dressing gown and pyjamas, going into a private room to chat to, and it was the King talking to the Princess. Both battling cancer at the same time. Extraordinary. And here they are now, on public, together.
And
it's fantastic.
And that shows you the benefits of delivering cancer care and not missing targets when unfortunately people who don't have the same clout or the money are not getting the care they deserve because the NHS is on its knees.
Some people were camped out in the Mall from 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And that's before they knew Catherine was going to be there.
And it was very, very wet.
Kevin wasn't one of them.
No, I
had other things to do.
We remind ourselves that the front of the Mirror this morning, is it on the Mirror? No.
Hey, get him back of the net.
Oh, Jude Bellingham is the superstar on the front of the Mirror this morning.
You'll find the Sunday Mirror had pages and pages of Kevin's favourite family.
Also, want to send our best wishes to Gordon Ramsay, who has a very important message. Do we have Gordon Ramsay's Instagram video? Let's have a look. He had a bad bike accident.
This week, unfortunately, I had a really bad accident, and it really shook me. And honestly, I'm lucky to be here. I'm in pain. It's been a brutal week, and I'm sort of getting through it. But I cannot tell you the importance of wearing a helmet.
Absolutely.
Wear your helmet. I think we have a picture of his crushed
The helmet. I mean, you can see the helmet takes quite a bash.
Oh, no, that's
not his helmet. That's his helmet. Can you see the crash in that?
I think it should be the law.
Yeah.
I do. I really think it should be the law.
The state of that bruise. I can't believe it can work.
Amazing.
Goodness me.
He's as tough as old boots, that bloke,
isn't he?
Really is.
Yeah.
Tough Scot. I interviewed him a long time ago. He really is a tough bloke.
And
but
he's
they should wear a helmet
as well, yeah.